In this video, we're going to be taking a look at devices in Ableton Live. For a more detailed view on devices, check out the free Audio Devices Explained pack. A device in Ableton Live can be classed as any built-in instrument, audio effect, or MIDI effect. VST plugins and Max for Live's audio instruments and effects are also classed as devices. The plugins available to you will depend on the version of Live you have. If we open the browser window, we can see our devices are split into 5 categories. We have instruments, audio effects, MIDI effects, plugins, and Max for Live. Firstly, let's take a look at instruments. Instruments can emulate anything from analog synths to samplers, pianos, and real basses. They require a MIDI input, and their output is audio. Therefore, they can only be placed on a MIDI track. We can see, as we drag an instance of operator onto this MIDI channel, how it changes the output to audio. Next, I'll show you audio devices. If you'd like a more in-depth knowledge of all the audio devices' functions and parameters, then check out our Audio Devices Explained pack, which is free on our website. Audio effects are designed to affect the audio in Live. This can be done in a number of ways, such as insert or send and returns, which will be explained in a later video. There are many different types of effects, such as time, space, dynamics, modulation, and creative effects. These range from reverbs and delays to choruses and compressors. Some audio effects are also used for metering and monitoring purposes. These can help us to visualize the stereo image and the frequency spectrum of a sound. As you can see, we can expand the drop-down menu next to each effect to list a set of presets for each effect. Once we've chosen a preset, we can load this onto our track by double-clicking, click-dragging, or pressing enter on the keyboard. In this case, I'll choose a reverb preset. I'm going to dial in a decent amount of wet signal, then I'm going to play some MIDI notes so you can hear the wet signal. These effects can be used on audio tracks and also on MIDI tracks. However, on MIDI tracks they must be placed after the MIDI instrument. This is because they need an audio signal to work and not MIDI. Here you can see me place an audio effect onto an audio clip and hear how it affects the signal. Next we're going to take a look at MIDI effects. These are similar to audio effects, however they affect the MIDI notes before they're processed by the instrument. Due to this, MIDI effects can only be placed on a MIDI track and only before the instrument, as after the instrument, the MIDI signal is converted to an audio signal, which can't be processed by a MIDI effect. Now I'm going to place a chord device onto our MIDI track and play some notes so we can hear how this MIDI effect changes the signal by adding extra notes to form a chord. I'm only pushing one note down on the keyboard, the other notes are being generated by this MIDI effect. I'm now going to add an arpeggiator and a ping-pong delay into the effects chain, so you can see how this chain is affected at the bottom of the screen. We can also see that all the MIDI instruments are at the front of the chain, before the MIDI instrument, and all the audio effects are after the MIDI instrument, so they only affect the audio of the signal. Notice you can also rearrange the order of the effects by click-dragging, provided you stick to the rules of MIDI effects on MIDI channels, but only before the instruments, and audio effects on audio and MIDI tracks, provided they go after the instrument. We can turn MIDI effects on and off via the device activator button on the top left of the device bar. We can also fold and unfold our devices by double-clicking the title bar to save room. We can also rename devices by right-clicking and selecting rename from the drop-down, or by pressing Command and R on the keyboard. We can also save a preset by pressing the file icon in the top right of the device. This allows us to build our own presets and customize existing ones. Customized presets will be saved in your user library, underneath the specific device. We can also group multiple devices by selecting them, right-clicking, and then selecting Group from the drop-down. We can also do this using the shortcut Command and G. This groups the effects together into a rack. Finally, we can chain multiple devices in parallel with each other. To do this, group the device with itself to create a rack. Go into the chain section of the rack and select Add Chain from the drop-down menu. Or, right-click and duplicate the chain with the Command keyboard shortcut, Command and D. This allows us to stack and layer instruments of different timbres on top of each other. You can add as many devices to a chain as you want, however the CPU will limit the amount of devices you can have, so keep an eye out on the CPU meter in the top right of the display. If we look at the bottom right of the screen, we can also see a mini scroll display of all of our audio device chain. This is useful for scrolling from left to right through your devices. The thick black border indicates what can be seen on your main display. Now we're going to take a look at third-party plugins. Many plugins can be purchased online from third-party companies, such as Native Instruments, Waves, and UAD. You can, however, download plenty of useful free plugins off the internet as well. If we locate to the plugin folder in the browser, we can see that they're broken down into VST, which is for Windows and Mac, or Audio Units, which is just for Mac. This is essentially the same thing, but just for different operating systems. If we go further into this menu, we can see it split down again into company names. If your plugins aren't showing up, or you'd like to add them to Live, then simply navigate to Live's preferences, then navigate to the file folder. Here you can select to turn on AUs and VSTs, as well as custom VSTs. If you use the custom folder, make sure you put your VSTs in this custom folder on your hard drive. Also remember to click Rescan Plugins afterwards to ensure Live rescans your plugins directory and updates your plugins folder accordingly. Plugin devices can be loaded just like Live's native devices. Plugins come in many different shapes and sizes on display. However, they'll always have a plugin device in the device chain. From this window, we can show and hide the plugin using this banner icon. We can also press the triangular button to customize and map the VST to allow full automation with Live. We strongly suggest you take the time to experiment with every device to understand how they work and how you can use them to your advantage to create music.